Okay, this is a pretty interesting thing which I'll get into the board. People buy from people or brands they trust. Now, this is a very important statement I'm making here. So basically what you're saying is trust precedes sell. Where is this the exception? The exception is if you are selling a low risk, low value item. And in repeat purchases, you already are familiar with the brand and therefore you can immediately, so trust is already established. Here trust is not of much consequences because the risk is low. So in these two cases, you don't need trust to precede sell, but in all other cases, you do need trust to precede sell, which is why you will notice that referrals bring you more business as opposed to having a website which sells. That means your website must do more than sell. How do you create this on a website? You do this so your website is actually trust plus authority, which culminates into sell. Now, most people have no clue as to this, and therefore they don't think they should have blogs or case studies or testimonials, because this kind of content is what establishes your trust and authority. And if it is not there, then selling will come to naught. Okay, so this is something which people just don't understand when they do websites. So lots of brands out there, which especially the smaller brands, do not sell, do not create authority or trust, because they think their notion of a website is that it should have sell pages only. Okay, people buy results. Now, this is another truism. So there is the best example of this is a quote, and one of the most famous marketing pundits way back in the 1930s was a gentleman called Theodore Levitt. He wrote a book called Marketing Myopia. That is short-sightedness of marketers. And in that, he says, marketers sell a 4-inch drill and customers buy a 4-inch hole. So if the marketer aligns with the customer needs, he would be much better off. Another gentleman who came much later was, I believe, Charles Revlon. He was the head of Revlon Cosmetics, and he also put it very beautifully when he said, in our factories, we make cosmetics. And the other thing, in our ads, we sell hope. So again, what you do and what people buy are totally different things. So you should know what people are buying and not necessarily what you're selling. Now, this is a fundamental flaw in almost all internet marketing. where you basically are trying to tout your product or service and not understanding that people are looking for something called results. So what you need is to sell the result, not sell the service or product. Okay, so this is essentially what I meant by people buy results, marketers sell solutions or products and services. Okay, there is another fundamental human trait which is called inertia. So people, especially this happens in service industries, I am comfortable with my current service provider, and moving from my current service provider to a new provider is flawed because I can imagine all kinds of things happening. Suppose I made the wrong decision. Suppose it was a mistake. Suppose I spend money and it goes down the drain. So all these things aid what is known as inertia. So in order to overcome inertia, your messaging needs to be compelling. And your FAQs need to address misnomers and other things in the market. Okay, so there is a specific reason for some of this content being in a website. Think of it as you are addressing all the objections that a person or a buyer has. Okay, all. Because you're not going around to answer them. And they are making snap judgments from what they are seeing you talk. So minimalism is not good selling. And that's why you see long copy pages on the World Wide Web. And there's a reason for that. You're trying to get the copy to sell for you in your absence and address all the probable issues that the customer faces. If you don't do that, your conversions will not be there. Okay. The next thing that you need to understand is people bite small. Sorry. Before, this is pretty much aligned to the trust issue. That means if you are looking for new prospects who have never tried your service before, you can't be going around and selling, telling the prospect, invest rupees 5 lakhs and then figure out whether this is working for you or not. Nobody will take that kind of a risk. And this is where another concept comes into digital marketing. It's called value ladder. That means you must have products and services which are biteable. So what marketers do, this is something which the FMCG marketers have been practicing for a long time. So if you get into the market looking, say, for coffee, you will find a 2 rupee pouch of brew. And then if you are already familiar with this, you can buy the larger 10 rupee pack of brew. And for the heavy duty drinker, they have a jar which is priced at probably $100. Okay. And you've gone through all these stages, and then now you are ready for something called gold, which is the premium price. 100 grams cost, I think, the rupees 135. So technically there is a ladder. This is the lowest risk, and this is the high risk. So how does a service business introduce the ladder? Multiple ways. So your ladder is something like this. What is your entry level price? And what are the mid-level prices, and what is the graduation price? So your graduation price is your 5 lakh product. And here you might have a 2 lakh product. And here you might have a 50K product. And here you might have a 30K product or a 20K product, depending on what you're offering. So even below this, you can have something free. Like, for example, this particular webinar is one step of a larger ladder that I am building for Pigtail Pundits. Okay, so free webinar or free PDF. So unless your service is structured for easy jumping, don't expect new clients to come and buy this straight away. You will be coming to grief if you do that. So where is your 2 lakh product? Where is your 50K product? And where is your 15K product? Those are the things which you need to figure out for your service. That means give people a taste here and get them to graduate here. This is the upsell. And these are the low bait offers. And this is what overcomes the problem of biting small before biting large. And this works for new prospects. Existing prospects already have the trust, so they are happy to buy more from you. But new prospects will never buy the highest level product. They will always go for this. And then they will graduate once the trust is built. And the problem with most services is there is no ladder. The marketers have not consciously thought about how people buy and therefore mimicked that as far as their services are concerned. Very fundamental flaw in businesses. I see this all the time. You come out with one product and that product is priced at 3 lakhs and you want a whole bunch of guys to come and buy it, and it doesn't happen. Okay. I've already tackled this. People have questions in their head that beg answers. As I told you, selling and buying are two sides of the same coin. So if you know how people buy, you will be able to sell better. Or if you know how to sell, people will buy. And both these are tied to questions in people's heads. So, and from this emanates the structure for selling. So a rough structure would be, what is the pain problem that I am trying to resolve? How does my solution fit in to resolve these problems? What is the social proof to make my solution sound believable or credible? Why should people buy my brand as opposed to somebody else's brand? And the last one is, what are the steps to buying in case you're not revealing the price, or what is the price investment that you need to make, along with CTs. Does this make sense, guys? Okay. Another very interesting thing about people which you need to know. Now, this principle of contrast is very, very interesting thing, but unless you attend to it, you will not notice it. That means unless there is an intent to observe it, you will not notice it. Now, this is prevalent in design, where the art director looks at something called a headline, which is there right on top, versus the body copy font. And there is sufficient contrast between the two. That means if you have headline at, say, 36 and body copy at 16, there is sufficient contrast. But if headline is 30 and body copy is 24, there is insufficient contrast. So people pick up high contrast, not low contrast. Now, how is this important? Now, suppose you were in a room where everybody was 5 foot tall. Nobody would be visible over the other. But if you had one 7 foot guy there, he would stick out like a sore thumb. So this is called high contrast. But if there were one guy who is 5 foot 3 inches, he would also not stick out. That's why the human perception was built around this. I believe there is a story going there where there were these two guys in very ancient times who saw a rustle of the trees in the distance. One guy took to his heels and basically ran away. The other guy waited and watched. And apparently it was a tiger who ate this guy. So the guy who waited and watched for what the rustle was all about didn't survive. The guy who ran away passed on his genes successfully. So this is what contrast does in real life for us. So from primordial times, our perceptions have been to understand what is happening in our environment and take in when the contrast is high, not low contrast. Okay, so how do you do this? You do this in design very beautifully. You have large image with little text. This is high contrast. You have large headline font with small body copy. This is also contrast. You have light color and then a dark colored panel. This is also contrast. So designers use contrast very, very effectively. Now you can see this contrast between this background and this background. There is another contrast. This is 3 panels versus, you could say this is 1 panel. Headline versus body copy. Contrast. But that's not where contrast ends. Contrast can be used in copy as well. Pain, problem, where you are amplifying the pain and the problem, and then the solution which you are sweetening. So only when this contrast happens does this sound sweeter. But that's again not the only place where you have contrast in copy. Now if you look at the steps to buy versus status quo or opportunity loss, that is also a contrast. So you can build contrast in design, in copy, and the last place that you build the contrast is pricing. Now I'll show you pricing contrast. Now look at this. What Basecamp is telling you is Basecamp for business is $99 monthly flat, and you get all these goodies if you buy. It is for an entire team. And the second plan is Basecamp limited but free. And what they have done beautifully is taken the same set of features on the top and dumbed down the features which are available or not available for this. Again, they are using a price contrast and a design contrast. Can you guys see this? So 99, you get 9 features, and for free, you get 3 features. And 99 contrast with free, and features contrast with features. So pricing can be contrasted. So when you have pricing tables, when you go to many sites, you will find pricing tables. Okay, and you must start with the highest price. I'll tell you why. So $99, $42, and $15 per month. Why? Because the highest price sets the anchor pricing. So this looks like a discount to that, and this looks like a discount to that. Whereas if you start this way, it looks as if you're climbing uphill, which is a lot more difficult than climbing downhill. So one of the methods marketers use is called price anchoring. Now in e-commerce, this is a very oft used phenomenon where there is something called a sales price and there is something called a regular price. So you show the regular price up front and strike it out. So $999 and the sale price would be $599, and some of the smarter ones say it's 50% off. So actual number and the percentage, both are given. And this is also price anchoring and contrasting. There are many, many techniques to doing this. So some of the marketers will say, this actually, if you are looking at this service in the market, you would pay $1,000. So they've anchored the price at $1,000. And lower down, when your actual pricing table comes, you will see that they are selling it for $99. So it looks to you that what is actually costing $1,000 is now being sold at $99. There is a nice story about this. Somebody asked, how do you sell a $2,000 watch? So the answer to that is place it next to a $10,000 watch.
Uni, just wanted to alert you, just 12 minutes to 1.
Okay, so that would make it to us?
That would make it to us, then we have to have questions too.
Okay, so I'll wrap up the balance because that's easy now.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is price anchoring. It starts with the highest price and ends up with this thing, not the reverse. Free doesn't come first.